Oh, come on. Elise. 2 weeks later. I stood before the mirror in the bathroom of the crappy apartment I'd called home my entire life. Mom was gone. I'd sold the only thing she ever cared about, a ruby engagement ring Garrett's father had given her before he'd found his Elysian mate and dropped her like a sack of shit. Yeah, that's how things went for Faye sometimes. One minute you're planning your life with a man you love, then the next the constellations align just right, and he finds himself standing under the stars with another woman, his one true love. You only get one chance to solidify that connection with them, or you end up star-crossed forever. I couldn't really blame him for choosing to take a shot at true love. Who wouldn't want that? But it left my mom alone. She was already pregnant with Garrett when it happened, but she never told him. She just up and left, moved to this apartment, got a job stripping and doing other things with her beauty and body for money. Then she went and fell for my dad, and he disappeared too. Poof. Here one day, gone the next. She claimed someone had kidnapped him, but it seemed more likely he didn't want to be landed with a brat and did a runner when he realized she was pregnant with me. Whatever the truth of it was, having her heart broken twice was the end for our mom. She focused on her job and her kids and never fell in love again. It broke her. We'd always known it growing up. Something was missing from her, but no matter how bad things got, she never sold that ring. Her love for her children was almost enough to make her happy at times. Not anymore. Gareth was dead, and the little bit of hope she clung to had died with him. She was a shell. She hadn't noticed when I took the ring from her finger. I'd used the money from selling it to pay for a year in a wellness center for her on the east side of the city. Who knew that little bit of jewelry had contained a priceless blood ruby? Rather than a bit of cut glass, but it had, and despite the asshole who bought it from me trying to rip me off, I'd managed to intimidate a decent price out of him for it. Rule 1, dickhead, don't try and lie to a vampire. I can hear your fucking heartbeat. Or maybe he could smell the stench of death on me, maybe he'd seen the emptiness in my eyes, or maybe I was just that damn scary now. Who knew? All that mattered was that she was safe and the center would do what they could do to bring her back to herself while I was working on getting vengeance for Gareth. I pursed my lips as I looked at myself in the mirror. I stood in my black underwear, the tattoo which ran across my ribs reading backwards in the glass, even angels fall. The words had spoken to me in my dreams the night following Garrett's death, and I'd gotten them marked into my flesh, feeling the truth in them so viscerally it hurt. I pulled my long white blonde hair over my shoulders and scowled as I raised the scissors. I never looked anything like Gareth. He was all dark, strong features and hooded eyes. My coloring must have come from my father. White hair, pale skin, freckles splattering my nose, and bright green eyes peering out from beneath long lashes. I looked delicate like a doll, and I never minded that before, but now I needed to be something together, and I needed to be sure no one at Aurora Academy recognized me. It wasn't likely. I'd never been for a visit, and Garrett had never brought friends home to meet me. We didn't look alike, and we even had different surnames. But there was the chance he'd spoken about me, had pictures of me. Thankfully, he'd always called me Ella, the only person who ever did. My heart ached a little as I realized I'd never hear him call me that again. Come on, Ella, you need to learn to run with the big boys now. His voice echoed in my memory, haunting my dreams. He'd never seen me as delicate. He'd always known I was fierce. And now that was all I'd be. Anyway, Ella had long blonde hair, so before I headed to the academy, I'd be rectifying that. I lifted the scissors and took a deep breath before cutting the long locks off in line with my chin. I was careful, but I doubted it would look like a professional job. Oh well. When my hair fell to the ground around my feet, I shook my head a little, marveling in the feeling of air on the back of my neck, the lightness on my head. The cut made my features more striking, drawing attention to my high cheekbones, full lips, wide eyes. I looked different, even to me, and I wasn't done yet. I'd cast an eye over the bottle I'd balanced on the edge of the sink, double-checking the instructions before emptying it over my hair. I worked the dye in, then headed back to my bedroom to double-check the bag of belongings I'd be bringing with me to Aurora Academy. My life looked pretty pathetic packed up in one big backpack like that, but there it was. Elise Callisto. A handful of clothes, toiletries, a couple of notes from my mom, and the only thing I had of real value, a binder filled with Garrett's sketches. I hadn't been able to make myself part with them, and it wasn't like he'd signed his name on them anyway. I could easily claim to have drawn them myself if anyone asked. Not that I had a look of his talent as far as that was concerned. I'd consider having one of them tattooed onto my skin. But in the end, I decided against it. I just didn't think they'd hold the same meaning on my flesh as those pieces of paper did. He'd drawn them himself. Those were his pencil strokes. His passion poured onto the page. I did a sweep of my room, checking to see if I'd forgotten anything, even though I knew I hadn't. I was just counting down the minutes on my hair day, counting down the seconds until I left for Aurora Academy. It had taken a few hours on the computer in old Sal's back office at the strip club for me to hack into the Academy's databases and get them to offer me guaranteed scholarship place at the school. I was a sophomore, he'd been a junior, but it hadn't been much of a change. No doubt starting off in the middle of the school year was only going to draw more attention to me, but that was fine. I was happy to let the spotlight shine on me when I arrived. Let the shark circle. I'm ready to bleed for him. Aurora Academy loomed before me as I strode up the long paved road to the iron gates. Why did the towering metal fences ringing this place make it seem more like a prison than a school to me? I hitched my backpack a little higher, cocked an eyebrow at the glimmering sign which spelled out the Academy's name, and chewed on my cherry gum a little harder as I strolled towards the gates. They parted magically as I reached them, no doubt recognizing me and knowing I belonged, even though I didn't. I hadn't passed the entrance exams. I hadn't had my power awakened here. I wasn't my brother. But here I was all the same, a fox among the wolves. I approached the huge Gothic building in front of me, the ancient stone and towering walls casting an ominous shadow across the ground. White steps carved with the signs of the zodiac led the way to a set of double doors which were pushed open as I approached. I stopped at the foot of the steps, my senses tingling as I listened with my vampire senses to find out what I was about to face. One steady heartbeat reached me, thumping to a tune that was just too casual to make me think I should be expecting violence. I wasn't a fool, though. I tossed a shield of air magic up around me as I waited for the door to open, fully ready to defend myself against whoever was coming my way. The doors opened, and a huge guy with sun-kissed skin and long blonde bleach hair stepped out. A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth as I spent a beat too long looking at him. His golden eyes trailed up from the toes of my black boots to the top of my lilac hair. I didn't miss the way his gaze lingered on my chest, or the way that casual heartbeat was pounding just a little bit harder at the sight of me, which in turn sent a zip of energy right through me. His black blazer seemed to be having a little difficulty making it over his broad shoulders, and my gaze caught on the way his biceps strained at the confinement, too. His shirt was untucked, tie hanging loose, and the general attitude of just tumbled out of bed hung about him. If that was the case, bed hair seriously looked good on him. Sex hair would probably look even better. Down, girl. I held my fangs back by the pure force of will as I gazed upon the first king of the school and the start of my problems. When Lorenzo had let that little nugget slip to me, I thought it was gold. Turned out Aurora Academy held court to 4 kings, so although my search for answers might have been narrowed down, it was by no means going to be easy to get them for many of the men who might have them. I'd done my research well, stalked social media, and found out all I could. Safe to say I recognized him easily, and he looked even better in the flesh. After all the research I'd done, I concluded that the man standing before me was my least likely suspect, and though I wasn't quite sure enough to rule him out yet, I really didn't think of him as the one to blame for my brother's death. "Are you Elise Callisto?" he purred, his eyes slipping to my chest again where my shirt was giving him a fairly easy view of my breast, so I could really only blame myself. I was asking. I took the steps slowly, still chewing my gum despite the fact the taste had gone. The calming, though, helped me keep the fangs in place. He scrubbed a hand over the golden stubble which lined his jaw as he assessed me. "Leon Knight, Principal Grayshine sent me to be your tour guide. He has other things to do this morning, I guess." I promised him more fun, though. Leon winked at me in that casual way that guys did when they knew just how good-looking they were. And damn it, my stomach squirmed with butterflies in response. "You're late," he added as an afterthought. You didn't seem to be waiting for me, I pointed out. I'm always late, he shrugged. I'm a Nemean lion shifter. We take life slow most of the time. I started to laugh as I made it to the top step and stood before him. Something funny? He asked, running a hand through his golden hair. Everything about him screamed sun and sand and fire. It was captivating and more than a little alluring, but I maintained the facade of being unaffected. Leon the lion? I teased, a smirk hooking my lips up. I laughed out loud when I read it in his file during my research before coming here. His star sign was Leo too. It was too fucking funny. Is that an unfortunate coincidence or something? I come from a family of lions, actually, he said with a shrug, pushing off of the door so that he was right in my personal space towering over me. My mom thought it was cute. It is, I agreed, still teasing. Very cute for a little lion cub. A rumble sounded in his chest, but it was more amused than annoyed. I got the feeling it would take a hell of a lot to shatter his cool facade. Yeah, that's me, all right. Cute. Leon pointed the way into the dark hall, and I took the hint to start walking. Don't spread that around, though. My family are supposed to be terrifying. Oh? I asked, blowing a bubble with my gun. Like that didn't interest me at all. Of course I knew all about his family. The Knights were so powerful that they hadn't even aligned themselves with one of the gangs. They were a power of their own. In Solaria, all Fae were supposed to claim their own place, fight for the position they wanted in society, and the Knights took that idea more literally than most. They were thieves. It was said that there wasn't a lock in existence that a Knight couldn't pick, and if you owed something they wanted, you'd be better off giving it to them than wasting your time trying to hide it. Not that I was going to let Leon know that I knew who he was. Yeah, he said, frowning at me like he'd never come across someone who didn't know his name before. And maybe he hadn't, but I wasn't going to start fawning over him anytime soon, so he'd just have to get over it. My mother's Saphira Knight, my father's Reginald Knight, you know. I shrugged innocently. Are they reality TV stars or something? I asked, because I don't go in for trash TV much. Leon chuckled, and the sound made me want to smile, too. There was something seriously inviting about him, and I made a mental note not to get sucked in by his charm. No, nothing like that, he replied, not bothering to elaborate. We started walking down a huge hallway with dark paneled wood lining the walls and burning sconces lighting the way. The smell of parchment and smoke mixed with the underlying tone of wood polish, and I looked all around, drinking everything in. This is Altair Hall, Leon said, sounding a little bored now. All of the buildings on campus were named after the Celestial Counselors and the dead royals. There are statues of the 4 ruling counselors, too, and even one of the Savage King if you like looking at stuff like that. Maybe someone thought it might make them come for a visit. I snorted a laugh at that. The rulers of Solaria were about as likely to drop in on an academy in the gang-controlled city of Alestria as I was to suddenly sprout wings and start reciting a sonnet. People like that didn't bother with people like us. They may have been our rulers, but I doubted our existence meant anything to all of them. So this is where all the classes are held, Leon explained. Classrooms to the right, and upstairs, faculty offices to the left. Everything book-related is in this building. Everything physical is outside. Do you need me to walk you around every hallway, or is that clear? I've got a map for you anyway. I looked around at the vaulted ceilings, Gothic archways, and imposing walls which didn't hold a single notice board or poster. The quiet hung around us and seemed to echo back to us, too. It was almost 10, but I guessed it was a Sunday. I guessed as it was a Sunday, no one needed to be here for classes. I wondered vaguely why Leon was in uniform. Did we have to wear them in our free time, too? Leon pulled a scrunched-up bit of paper out of his pocket and passed it to me. I cast an eye over the hand-drawn map for a moment before folding it more carefully and placing it in my own pocket. It didn't look very detailed, but I guess it was better than nothing. He led me down several long corridors, pointing out things like, that's a picture of some old altar dude, and these are lockers, one of them must be yours, and that banister is the best fucker for sitting down the whole school. It was super educational, and I couldn't help but wonder why I'd been chosen for this task. Maybe he'd just been wandering by the head's office at the wrong moment. We made it to a set of glass doors at the back of the building and paused. Leon pointed up at a huge chart in the shape of the sun which glimmered with golden light on the wall. It was split into 4 columns, each of which were lined with names numbered from 1 to 200. This is the leaderboard, he explained. Each year has its own column, and each student has a rank from most to least powerful. Teachers award track points based on your strength, your skill with element, how well you perform in classes, how well you keep control of your order form, and that kind of thing. So I'm guessing no one wants to be at the bottom, I asked, my gaze slipping to the foot of the sophomore column where Elise Callisto was marked in silver with a big fat 0 beside my name. The guy ranking above me, Eugene Dipper, had 406 points. How the hell was I supposed to catch up after missing a year? Don't worry about that. Principal Grayshine said you'll be given a ranking after a few weeks. Once the teachers have a grasp on where you should fit, then you'll be on a level playing field with the rest of us. A flicker of relief filled me at that thought, and I nodded, letting my gaze skim up the column until I found Leon's name at number 12. He grinned proudly, then turned away from the leaderboard towards the glass doors. We stepped out into the sun, which had just broken free of the clouds, and Leon groaned in a way that was downright sexual. A shot of excited energy raced through my body in response as it took me by surprise. I looked around at him as he started thumbing open every button on his shirt so that his body was exposed to the golden light. I knew lion shifters replenished their magic by bathing in the sun. But this was like walking onto a porn shoot. He'd be asking me if I needed help servicing my pipes at any moment. My mouth dried up, my gaze swept over his washboard after my lips parted without a sound finding its way free. We had a bonfire down by Timbus Lake last night, Leon said, as if that was an explanation for getting him half naked. He used a shitload of my magic, he added in response to my blank look. He quickly shed his blazer and shirt, leaving him standing there topless with his plum tie still on, which was weirdly hot. Before I could say anything to stop him, he tossed the shirt and blazer into my arms and I almost dropped them, only managing not to use my vampire speed to save the catch. What the hell? I demanded. I knew I'd have to fight for my position in this school the moment I arrived. Faith fought for their place in the world, and I was joining a fully established ranking system. I was bound to get it hard from all corners until people realized I wasn't a pushover. But if this was a power play, was the weirdest fucking one I'd ever engaged in. Leon raised an eyebrow at me. Don't you want to carry that for me? He asked innocently. No, asshole, carry your own shit. I tossed his clothes back at him and he caught them easily, cocking his head in surprise. What? I demanded. Women just tend to want to do shit for me, he said with a shrug. It's a lion thing, you know. King of pride and all that. Well, I'm not a lioness. No, you're some other kind of little monster, aren't you? Not many orders can resist me that easily. What order are you, anyway? I half considered biting him just to put him in his box, but that pleasure had already fallen upon the bus driver. That made me late. Oh, thank you.
The Monday is closed, okay?
Yes, ma'am. I half considered biting him just to put him in his box, but that pleasure had already fallen upon the bus driver and made me late. I probably ruined his day, and to make matters worse, his blood had tasted bland, like a salad that was all lettuce, but I'd gotten enough magic from his veins to fill me up so I didn't need anymore. I bet Leon tasted pretty damn good, though. I looked up at him and smiled tauntingly, letting my fangs descend so he could see for himself what I was. Shit, he said on a laugh. You really are a little monster, but you can still come join my pride if you like. Vampires prefer to be alone, I responded instantly. A little stab of pain went through my heart at the words, realizing that was more true now than ever. Gareth was dead, Mom was gone. I was alone. Until I made this right, at least. I looked away from Leon, not wanting him to see a single glint of the pain writhing within me. Luckily, he didn't seem to. Well, the offer's there, little monster. He ran a hand through his long hair in a carefree way, pointing to a large building off to our left. That's cafeteria while you eat all your meals. Okay. Cafeteria. Get it? He pressed with a grin. I get it, I replied. It's just not funny. Leon's smile widened and he strolled off across the open courtyard we'd arrived in. I looked around at the echoing concrete area, noticing a set of bleachers to the right beyond the yard and a row of picnic benches on the left. Beyond them was a hill covered in long green grass. This is a Crick's courtyard where everyone hangs out between classes, Leon said. Or Skura clan, he added lazily, pointing towards the picnic benches. Lunar Brotherhood, he pointed to the bleachers, and those of us who don't choose to be branded as either sit on Devil's Hill. He just nodded to it. And just like that, the divides in this place were marked out, set in stone. The gangs had carved up the territory here, just like in the city. It wasn't surprising, really, but I'd never felt so in the thick of it before. My old high school was firmly in the Skura territory within the city limits. And there had been plenty of gang members in class, but they were low-ranking and had paid me as little attention as I paid them. I'd never even been a brother of the Lunar Brotherhood before, but their reputation for ruthless brutality preceded them. I wondered what it would be like to live in a war zone. But that's really the most important thing you need to remember about this academy, Leon added, like I might not know. Oh, and we call the space between the bleachers and the picnic benches no man's land. You can hang out there if you want, just don't wander into either territory unless you're ready to sign up to gang life. I eyed the two terms suspiciously, wondering how the hell I was supposed to get close to the two members of the Robin Games without getting myself killed in the process. Tomorrow's problem, Elise, just get through today without pissing yourself first. My subconscious was a cold bitch, but she was right more often than not. We passed Devil's Cell and took a path through the meadow towards a looming stone tower which dominated the view ahead. The physical lessons are held down there. He pointed down to the hill to the left of us where I could make out more buildings in the distance. What element are you? Leon asked casually, almost like he wasn't interested, but as his golden eyes swept over me again, I caught a spark in them that said otherwise. Every Fae born in Solaria was gifted with power of the element to connect to their star sign. So as a labor, my magic was air. Some of the most powerful Fae were gifted control over multiple elements because they linked to constellations too, but I never met anyone that strong. Air, I replied. You? Although I already knew from researching him, but I had to keep up the pretense. Fire, little monster, all hot and uncontrollable. I thought the point of wielding an element was to gain control over it, I mused, though I let my eyes trail over his sun-kissed skin long enough for him to notice. Is that what you'd like to do with me? He teased. I smiled without answering. I needed to get close to the kings of this school if I wanted to figure them out after all. And there was certainly an appeal to get close to Leon Knight's body, assuming he wasn't a secret murderer, of course. I had to admit that my first impression of him certainly didn't strike fear into my heart, maybe a bit of heat into my core, but I wasn't getting a psycho vibe off of him. Is that a yes? He asked, drifting a little closer to me as we walked. Do you always proposition girls you've just met? I asked, slanting a brow. Only the hot ones. Lucky me, I replied, mockingly inching away again. He was toying with me, and I wasn't going to be won that easily, but I didn't mind letting him close. We reached a domineering tower, and Leon waited for me to open the door before strolling right through it and almost knocking into me. My mouth fell open in surprise. Hey, I complained as he glanced back at me in confusion. I wasn't opening the door for you. Oh, Leon ran a hand through his long hair sheepishly. Sorry, but the whole lion pride thing. Girls usually just, well, I don't, I reminded him, and the next time I won't be nice about it. I flashed him my fangs, and a glare as I swept past him onto the curving wooden staircase before us, which I presume was our destination. Leon jogged to catch me as I strained my vampire hearing, picking up on a lot more sounds in this building. People were close by. There were people close by, quite a lot of conversations flowing, laughter, crying, even a couple having sex. I withdrew my attention, reining in my senses so that Leon was my focus again. This is the Vega dormitories. All the students are housed here. You're up on the top floor. Like me, he winked. Don't know how you wrangled that little monster. I stamped out the sly smile which came looking from my lips. I already knew because I hacked into the school system and selected a dorm myself so I could be close to the other two kings who were housed there. I had to get the former dorm mate expelled from the academy this scurrying with a few of her exam results, but a quick look into her record told me she was a nasty piece of work anyway. Multiple reprimands for fighting, bullying, and even an accusation that she'd molested a guy which had been dropped under suspicious circumstances. Leon would be just along the corridor, too, so it had that perk at it as well. Plenty of opportunity for me to find out their secrets. Is the top floor good, then? I asked innocently. We have the best view, Leon shrugged. I'd like to see the sunrise in the morning, so I'd say so. The dorms are all the same, though it doesn't really mean anything. Lunar Brotherhood have the bottom 10 floors and Obscura have the top 10. The rest of us are assigned randomly between every level. All co-sexes, too, just in case you weren't told in advance. Guys and girls bunking in together. They think that by housing us in groups of 4 it will prevent sex, or maybe encourage it. Who the fuck knows? Well, I guess it can encourage group sex, I laughed. Sharing a room with guys actually helped me out in my plans to get close to the kings, so I had no problem with it. Presuming they didn't realize what I was up to and kill me on my slate, that was. We reached the 20th floor, and Lance swung left along the corridor. He pushed his arms back through his shirt and blazer, but he hadn't bothered to rebutton them. This is here. The rooms are magically keyed to only open for their occupants. He announced as we reached the door at rank 666. Ominous. You'll find your school book, schedule, and now it's in their alongside your uniforms. That's all you really need. So this is the end of my tour? I asked as I moved to lean back against the door. He hadn't even shown me the quarter of the academy from what I could tell. Leon stretched languidly, raising his arms above his head and arching his spine in a way that was so feline I couldn't help but stare. His black pen shifted low and his hips revealing a deep V which dubbed beneath his waistband and set my imagination down a dirty path. I had to yank her a little violently. The sun's shining, he said with a shrug. I showed you the important bits. My detention is served. This was detention? I asked. Hence the uniform. What can I say? I'm a bad boy. He joked in my story in response. You're certainly something. Want to come sit and be with me and find out what that something is, little monster? I asked, leaning his forearm on the door above my head as he peered down into my eyes. Thanks for the offer, but I better check my schedule and figure out what my classes are for tomorrow. I had a fucking terrible guy show me around and I'll end up lost if I'm not careful. I teased. Leon laughed, a deep rumble sounding in his chest as he withdrew from my personal space. Do you want these back? He held out half a pack of cherry gum, $4.13, which was all the money I had in the world now. The hand drum map he'd given me and a pair of aviator sunglasses which had been perched on my head. In short, everything I had in my pockets on me and that wasn't sewn together. How the hell did you get those? I asked, more impressed than annoyed. I hadn't even noticed the thing as he lifted them. Leon agreed. Maybe I'm more than just cute, he said, holding my meager possessions out for me. But I'm feeling gracious, so I decided to let you have them back on account of your hotness. Wow, I'm flattered, I deadpanned as I reclaimed my shirt. Leon chuckled again with a touch of smile in response. I guess I'll see you around then, little monster. Maybe, I agreed. He sauntered away from me and I took a steady breath as I listened for anyone in the door before me. I instantly pecked out 3 heartbeats and prepared myself for what it was about to follow. I faced my first king already, but the next 2 were endlessly more terrifying. I took another deep breath, banishing my fear as best I could. If I fought for position, I had to go in strong. For Gareth, for Mom, for me. I placed my hand against the door and felt the magic sweep around my body before it clicked open to admit me. Buckle up, bitch. Here comes nothing.